The Forgotten Legend. Dr. Elena Shaw stood alone in the dimly lit archives of the Terran Defense Force Historical Division, surrounded by holographic displays and ancient data crystals. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical knot, her eyes reflecting the blue glow of the terminal as she carefully examined fragmentary records from humanity's early interstellar conflicts. For 3 years, she had been piecing together the history of humanity's most enigmatic warship, a vessel that most of her colleagues dismissed as mere propaganda. The Harbinger. According to scattered accounts, 2 centuries ago, during humanity's first major interstellar war against the Krell Dominion, a single human vessel had turned the tide of a losing battle. It had appeared seemingly from nowhere, demonstrating weapons and defensive systems that even modern ships couldn't match. After the decisive victory, the ship had simply vanished. Official records classified it as lost with all hands, but Elena had found inconsistencies in the narrative. Search complete, announced the Archive's AI assistant. Cross-reference analysis identifies 17 additional mentions of designation Harbinger in sealed military records. Access requires Omega-level clearance. Elena frowned. Omega clearance? That's reserved for the High Admiral and Security Council. She saved her findings to her personal datapad and gathered her things. Outside the archive building, New Geneva's skyline glittered in the evening light, massive archaeology towers reaching toward the stars. Civilization had recovered well since the Krell War, with humanity now controlling 27 star systems under the unified Terran Commonwealth. But recent developments had Elena worried. Reports from the outer colonies spoke of a new alien power, the Vraxian Empire, expanding aggressively into territories near human space. Their technology was reportedly decades ahead of humanity's current capabilities, and diplomatic overtures had been met with silence. Dr. Shaw. Elena turned to find a uniformed officer approaching, a captain, judging by the insignia. He was tall with East Asian features and the weathered look of someone who'd spent significant time in deep space. Captain Marcus Chen. He introduced himself with a crisp nod. Terran Defense Intelligence. Do you have a moment? Minutes later, they sat in a secure meeting pod at a nearby military facility. The privacy field hummed softly around them. Your research into the Harbinger has attracted attention, Chen said without preamble. Particularly your requests for access to classified technical specifications. Elena's heart raced. Am I being investigated, Captain? Quite the opposite. I've been authorized to assist your research and to accelerate it. He placed his hand on the table's security scanner, and a holographic display materialized between them. 12 hours ago, we lost contact with Outpost Sigma 9 near the Vraxian border. Our long-range sensors detected this before communications went dark. The hologram showed a recording of 3 sleek, angular vessels with a distinctly alien design. They approached a human defense platform, and without warning or communication, opened fire. The platform's shields flared briefly before collapsing, and the station disappeared in a blinding flash. 2,000 colonists and a defensive complement of 600 personnel, Chen said grimly. The Vraxians left no survivors. Why are you showing me this? Elena asked, though she suspected the answer. Because intelligence suggests this is just the beginning. Vraxian fleet movements indicate they're preparing for a major push into human space, and our projections. He paused. Our projections show we cannot win a protracted conflict with their current technological advantage. And you think the Harbinger could change that equation? Chen's expression remained neutral. What I think is that if the historical accounts are accurate, if a human vessel once possessed technology that could outmatch a superior alien force, then finding that technology might be our only hope of survival. Captain, even if the Harbinger was real, it disappeared 200 years ago. Did it? Chen activated another file. This is from Deep Space Tracking Station Epsilon 12, dated 43 years ago. It recorded an unidentified energy signature passing through the Ta-CD system. The signature matched no known ship type, but when I cross-referenced it with the fragmentary data from the Krell War, the comparison appeared on the display. The patterns were nearly identical. The Harbinger didn't just vanish, Chen concluded. It's still out there. 3 days later, Elena found herself aboard the TCS Relentless, a sleek corvette designated for special reconnaissance. Captain Chen had assembled a small team including Elena, 2 intelligence analysts, and a quantum engineer named Dr. Imani Okafor, whose expertise in advanced propulsion systems might help them understand the Harbinger's capabilities. I've been granted temporary access to Omega-level files, Chen explained as they gathered in the ship's secure briefing room. What I found confirms much of Dr. Shaw's research, but adds crucial details. The display showed technical specifications unlike anything Elena had seen in modern ship designs: crystalline power matrices, non-Euclidean space-folding engines, and weapon systems that manipulated fundamental forces rather than simply deploying energy or kinetic projectiles. The Harbinger wasn't just advanced, Okafor whispered, studying the schematics. This technology operates on principles we've only theorized. Some of it we can't even explain with current physics. But where did it come from? Elena asked. No human engineers could have developed this 2 centuries ago. Chen's expression darkened. That's where the records become problematic. According to the classified history, the Harbinger was discovered, not built. Discovered, Elena repeated. You mean it was alien technology? Not exactly. The ship was found drifting in deep space by an early exploration vessel. Its design was clearly human, but its technology was centuries beyond our capabilities, and it had markings in English, but dated to a period at least 50 years after its discovery. Silence fell as the implications sank in. You're suggesting it came from the future, Elena finally said. Or from an alternate timeline, Chen replied. The theoretical physics team that studied it couldn't reach a consensus. What they did agree on was that the ship's AI contained temporal safeguards that prevented full disclosure of its origins. Before they could discuss further, the ship's alert system activated. Captain, to the bridge came the urgent voice of the first officer. Priority transmission from TCON headquarters. On the main display, a grim-faced admiral appeared. Captain Chen, your mission parameters have changed. The Vraxians have launched simultaneous attacks on 3 colony worlds. Casualties are in the thousands and rising. A battle group is engaging their forces at Proxima Centauri, but they're outmatched. Defense Command is activating Protocol Omega. Find the Harbinger. It may be our only hope. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. How do we find a ship that's been missing for 2 centuries? Elena asked quietly. Chen turned to her. We follow the breadcrumbs, Doctor. And we have one advantage our predecessors didn't. We know what to look for. For the next week, the Relentless jumped from system to system, following the trail of unusual energy signatures recorded over decades by automated monitoring stations. Each signature was fleeting, sometimes years apart, but they formed a pattern, a vast elliptical orbit that took the Harbinger through the edges of explored space and back again. Meanwhile, news from the front grew increasingly dire. The Vraxian forces had pushed deep into human territory, their superior technology allowing them to neutralize planetary defense systems with frightening ease. Millions of civilians were being evacuated from border worlds as the Terran fleet struggled to mount an effective resistance. We're running out of time, Chen said as they reviewed the latest pattern of signatures. The ship seems to be following some kind of predetermined course. But at this rate, we won't intercept it for months. Elena, who had been examining the classified files more closely, looked up suddenly. What if we're not meant to find it? What if it's meant to find us? She pulled up the records of the Harbinger's original appearance during the Krell War. The ship arrived precisely when humanity faced extinction. Not before, not after. What if that's by design? What if it's programmed to appear at moments of existential crisis? You're suggesting we can't find it because the conditions for its appearance haven't been met, Okafor said slowly. Exactly. The ship exists in some kind of temporal flux state until it's needed. Chen considered this. Then we need to create those conditions. Or rather, he looked grim. We need to make sure the Harbinger knows how desperate our situation has become. How do we do that? Elena asked. The ship's eye monitors human communications and sensor networks. We need to broadcast our current situation on all frequencies, including the quantum bands that only the Harbinger's systems could detect. 48 hours later, the Relentless positioned itself at the coordinates where the last energy signature had been detected. Okafor had reconfigured the ship's communications array to broadcast on frequencies that modern systems rarely used, including some that theoretically shouldn't work at all. Message is transmitting, the communications officer reported. No response on any channel. Elena stood at the viewport, staring into the endless darkness of space. Had they misinterpreted the data? Was the legendary Harbinger truly just a myth after all? A proximity alert suddenly blared through the bridge. Massive energy signature detected, called out the sensor officer. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Space itself seemed to ripple before them, as if reality was being gently pushed aside. And then, materializing as if from thin air, a ship appeared. It was smaller than Elena had expected, perhaps 2/3 the size of a modern cruiser, with sleek lines that seemed both familiar and alien. Its hull was a deep, non-reflective black that somehow managed to stand out starkly against the darkness of space. Strange patterns flowed across its surface like liquid circuitry, pulsing with an internal light that shifted between blue and gold. The Harbinger, Elena whispered, as the legendary ship hung motionless before them, awakened from its long absence just as humanity faced its darkest hour. Return of the Harbinger. Attempting communication on all frequencies, the Relentless's comm officer reported, her voice tight with tension. No response. The Harbinger hung silently in space, the strange patterns on its hull continuing their hypnotic flow. It made no move toward them, yet Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were being observed, studied. Its defensive systems are active, warned the tactical officer. But it's not targeting us. Captain Chen stood from his command chair. Open a direct channel. Audio only. He cleared his throat. This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Commonwealth vessel Relentless. We've been searching for you. Humanity is facing extinction at the hands of the Vraxian Empire. We need your help. For long moments, there was nothing but silence. Then, without warning, a beam of light shot from the Harbinger, enveloping the bridge in a soft blue glow. Before anyone could react, the light condensed into a humanoid form, a holographic projection of a woman in a uniform unlike any in current service. Her features were striking, with dark skin, close-cropped hair, and eyes that seemed to hold centuries of knowledge. I am HFY, Advanced Recursive Intelligence Array of the Temporal Vessel Harbinger, the hologram announced. Extinction protocol verified. Assistance authorized. Elena stepped forward. You're the ship's eye. You've been monitoring humanity all this time. The hologram's gaze shifted to her. That is my function. The Harbinger observes but does not interfere unless certain parameters are met. Those parameters have now been satisfied. What parameters? Chen asked. Potential extinction of human civilization, with probability exceeding 87%. Current calculation, 92.4% probability without intervention. A chill ran through Elena. Are you saying we're already that close to defeat? The technological disparity between human and Vraxian forces is significant, Araya confirmed. However, that can be remedied. Captain Chen, I require direct interface with your strategic systems to update my tactical assessment. Chen hesitated only briefly before nodding to his security officer. The Harbinger's eye was granted limited access to the Relentless's databases, absorbing information at an incredible rate. Analysis complete. Araya announced moments later. The Vraxian fleet is converging on Earth. They intend to strike at the heart of human government and military command to force immediate surrender. Our home defense fleet can't withstand their numbers, Chen said grimly, even if we recalled all ships from the colonies. That would be insufficient, ARIA interrupted. However, the Harbinger was designed for precisely this scenario. I must select a human commander to interface with my systems. Dr. Elena Shaw, you have studied the Harbinger extensively. You understand its purpose. You are the optimal choice. Elena blinked in surprise. Me? But I'm not military. I'm a historian. That is precisely why you are suited to the task. The Harbinger requires contextual understanding that exceeds tactical knowledge. Captain Chen will provide the latter. Chen shared a look with Elena. We don't have time to debate this. If the Harbinger believes you're the right person, I trust that assessment. Within the hour, Elena found herself aboard the legendary vessel, escorted by Aria's holographic form through corridors that seemed to shift subtly as they walked, as if the ship's internal geometry wasn't entirely stable. The walls pulsed with the same flowing patterns visible on the hull, and the air hummed with energy that made Elena's skin tingle. The command center is unlike anything you're familiar with, Aria had explained as they approached a circular chamber at the ship's heart. It operates on neural interface principles. You will not pilot the Harbinger in a conventional sense. You will guide its intent. The chamber contained no visible controls, just a central platform surrounded by what appeared to be liquid light suspended in air. Captain Chen had joined them, looking equally awed and uncertain. How does this work? Elena asked, eyeing the platform warily. Step onto the interface. Allow your mind to connect. I will facilitate the process. Taking a deep breath, Elena stepped forward. The moment her foot touched the platform, the liquid light surged around her, enveloping her body. Instead of panic, she felt an overwhelming sense of expansion, as if her consciousness was suddenly linked to something vast and ancient. Information flooded her mind, not overwhelming her, but organizing itself into comprehensible patterns. She could sense the ship's systems, its capabilities far beyond what even the classified files had suggested. The Harbinger didn't just possess advanced weapons. It could manipulate space-time itself, creating localized ruptures that allowed it to appear and disappear at will. This is incredible, she whispered. Through the neural interface, she could see the tactical situation across human space in real time. The Vraxian fleet's positions, the desperate holding actions of human defenders, the millions of civilians in harm's way. The Harbinger is ready, Aria announced. Plotting course to Earth, temporal displacement drive engaging. Chen stood at the edge of the platform, now surrounded by holographic displays that mirrored what Elena was experiencing directly. The Vraxians have broken through the outer defense perimeter, he reported. They'll reach Earth within 6 hours. We'll get there first, Elena said with certainty she didn't know she possessed. The neural interface was adapting to her, becoming more intuitive by the second. The Harbinger's engines activated, not with the typical flair of modern drives, but with a subtle distortion of space around the ship. Stars blurred, and reality seemed to fold inward. Elena felt a momentary disorientation, and then they were there, in Earth orbit, ahead of the approaching Vraxian armada. Earth's defense fleet hung in orbit, a collection of cruisers, destroyers, and carriers that represented humanity's last line of defense. They were impressive by modern standards, but Elena could sense through the Harbinger's systems that they would stand little chance against what was coming. Open a channel to Fleet Command, she instructed. The surprised face of Admiral Keller appeared on a holographic display. Identify yourself, he demanded. Our sensors show an unknown vessel off. He stopped, eyes widening. Is that the Harbinger? It is, Admiral, Elena confirmed. We've returned to help. The Vraxian fleet will arrive in approximately 5 hours. We need to coordinate our defense. The Admiral's surprise quickly gave way to pragmatism. We're transmitting our battle plans now, but I must warn you, their numbers are overwhelming. Through the interface, Elena received the tactical data. The Harbinger's systems analyzed it instantly, identifying critical weaknesses and suggesting alternatives. "Your formation is too conventional," she told the admiral. "The Vraxians will expect it. We need to adapt." She transferred the Harbinger's suggested strategy. "Position your forces according to this pattern. When the enemy arrives, hold position until my signal." The hours passed in tense preparation. Alina remained connected to the Harbinger's systems, growing more comfortable with the neural interface. Captain Chen coordinated with the defense fleet, ensuring they understood their roles in the coming battle. "They're here," Araya announced suddenly. Space rippled as the Vraxian fleet emerged from their faster-than-light transit. Hundreds of vessels, their angular forms bristling with weapons. Their flagship, nearly twice the size of Earth's largest battleship, took position at the center of their formation. "They're transmitting a demand for surrender," reported Chen. "Ignore it," Alina said. "Everyone hold position." The Vraxian fleet advanced, weapons charging. Earth's defenders remained in their seemingly vulnerable formation, waiting for the signal. Alina could feel the Harbinger systems reaching full power, the temporal displacement drive creating a localized distortion field around the ship. "Now," she commanded. The Harbinger surged forward, its hull patterns accelerating to a blur of light. As it approached the Vraxian formation, it seemed to phase partially out of normal space, leaving afterimages trailing behind it. Earth's defense fleet simultaneously executed their coordinated maneuver, shifting to positions that had appeared exposed but now revealed strategic advantage. The Vraxians fired their main weapons, beams of destructive energy that should have annihilated anything in their path. But where they struck the Harbinger, reality itself seemed to bend, the energy dissipating into subspace rifts that the legendary ship generated on demand. "Targeting their command vessels," Alina announced, feeling the Harbinger's weapon systems align through the neural interface. She didn't press buttons or issue verbal commands. She simply directed intent, and the ship responded. The Harbinger released what appeared to be spheres of condensed light. They moved through space erratically, evading Vraxian point defense systems before detonating against their targets. But rather than conventional explosions, the spheres created localized space-time distortions that tore the enemy ships apart at a fundamental level. "Earth fleet, engage secondary targets," Chen ordered, coordinating the conventional forces while Alina guided the Harbinger through the heart of the enemy formation. The battle unfolded with a speed and intensity that would have been impossible to manage without the neural interface. Alina could process the entire battlefield at once, directing the Harbinger with precision that no conventional control system could match. The legendary ship danced between enemy vessels, its weapons striking with devastating effect, while its defenses rendered it virtually untouchable. After an hour of intense combat, the tide had unmistakably turned. A third of the Vraxian fleet had been destroyed, another third crippled or disabled. The remainder began to retreat, breaking formation as they attempted to escape. "The flagship is preparing to jump," Araya warned. Alina focused the Harbinger's sensors on the massive vessel. "They're powering up something else, some kind of superweapon aimed at Earth." The neural interface showed her the danger, a gravitic compression device that could destabilize Earth's crust, potentially rendering the planet uninhabitable. There was only one option. "Initiating temporal fold," she directed. The Harbinger vanished from its position, reappearing directly in the path of the Vraxian flagship's weapon. As the alien vessel fired, the legendary ship created a contained field that captured the destructive energy and redirected it back upon its source. The Vraxian flagship's hull cracked open like an eggshell, secondary explosions rippling through its massive frame before it erupted in a blinding flash that temporarily overwhelmed sensors. When visibility returned, the remaining Vraxian vessels were in full retreat, jumping to faster-than-light speeds and disappearing from the system. Earth was safe. For now. Hours later, with the neural interface deactivated, Alina stood on the Harbinger's observation deck with Captain Chen, looking down at the blue-green planet below. "The Vraxians will return," Chen said quietly. This was just one fleet. They have many more. Elena nodded. I know, but the Harbinger has changed the equation, and not just through direct combat. She gestured to where Dr. Okafor was working with a team of engineers, carefully documenting the ship's technologies. We can learn from it, adapt some of its advances to our current ships. ARIS says there are limitations to what can be shared, Chen reminded her. Some of the technology is temporally restricted, knowledge that humanity isn't ready for. But some isn't, Elena countered. Enough to give us a fighting chance. And the Harbinger itself will remain as our guardian until the crisis has passed. The holographic form of ARIA appeared beside them. That is correct, Dr. Shaw. The Harbinger's purpose is to preserve humanity's future, not by fighting all its battles, but by ensuring it survives to fight for itself. Where did you come from? Elena asked the question that had burned in her mind since first boarding the ship. Who built you? Aria's expression remained neutral, but something like pride seemed to flicker in her holographic eyes. You did, Dr. Shaw. Or rather, you will. Approximately 70 years from now, after the knowledge gained from this encounter helps humanity advance beyond current limitations. Elena stared in shock. I create you, in the future. A future that now has a 97.3% probability of occurring, thanks to your actions today. The AI's form began to fade. Some knowledge must remain restricted to preserve temporal integrity. But know this, the Harbinger is humanity's creation, not a gift or discovery. It represents what your species will achieve when it reaches its potential. As ARIA vanished, Elena turned back to the viewport, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. The legend of the Harbinger had always been a story of hope, that humanity would find a way to survive against impossible odds. Now she understood it was more than that. It was a promise from the future, a reminder that humanity's greatest achievements were still to come. What happens now? Chen asked quietly. Elena smiled, watching as the sun crested Earth's horizon, bathing the planet in golden light. Now we write the next chapter.